G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life. And if you want an affordable, fun, manual, rear-wheel drive sports car, well, of course you go for the Indy MX-5 or the Toyota GT86. Or you could consider one of these, the MX-5's long-distant Italian cousin. This is a Fiat Abarth 124 Spider. It is built on the Indy platform. In fact, it is made on the same production line. It even has an NC MX-5 gearbox, and the interior is basically the same as an Indy MX-5. But most importantly, it has gorgeous Italian styling and an Italian engine. And so today, given I reviewed an Indy MX-5 just a couple of months ago, we're going to see if the 124 Spider is better or worse, or just a good alternative to the MX-5 and GT86. Exterior styling, I think, is the main thing that sets this car apart. The long nose gives it the classic roadster proportions, with the big round headlights that arguably looks more MX-5 than the Indy MX-5 does, with the big taillights around the back, quad exhausts on a little baby sports car like this. It's a fantastically well-designed car. The interior is excellent too, simply because they took the Indy MX-5's interior, which is already fantastic, and Italianized it a bit, but most importantly, left the Japanese to do all of the electronics. The infotainment system is exactly the same as any Mazda from the late 2010s, however it just has a different background on it with an Abarth logo. All of the climate control is exactly the same as the Indy, so it won't break. The steering wheel and all of the buttons are the same as the Indy, along with the gauges and the indicator and wiper stalks. Everything feels nice, well screwed together, and will never break. But to give the Italians something to do, they let them redesign the steering wheel with a little racing strip here at the top, the mark of a true sports car. They gave it an awesome looking red tachometer with a different font. They gave it a new shift knob, which looks and feels fantastic. You really would have no idea that this is actually the old NC 6-speed manual transmission. The seats are great. This is a fantastic interior space. But the real party piece of the 124 Spider over, say, the Indy MX-5 or the GT86 is the engine. It's smaller in displacement. It's only a 1.4 litre 4-cylinder engine, but most importantly, it's got a turbocharger, which means compared with the 200 Newton meters that the MX-5 and GT86 make, this makes 250, and it comes in at much lower RPM, meaning the grunt that it has available is so much more usable. It does have a little bit less power, only 125 kilowatt or 170 horsepower, so in typical very small turbocharged engine fashion, the power sort of peters off towards the top end, and it's not really making a whole lot of power up there. So by going with this, you're getting more usable power, a lot more torque, but you are sacrificing a little bit of peak power at the top end. However, it is still capable of going on to a top speed of 233 k's an hour and will do 0 to 100 in 6.5 seconds. So you got more torque from factory, a bit less power, but still nice short gears in the 6-speed manual transmission. Power is of course still going to the rear wheels, and should you desire it, it has a bit more tuning potential. And it sounds fantastic too. Take a listen to this. So it certainly makes a fantastic noise. And it doesn't go half bad either, man. I gotta say, 170 horsepower doesn't sound like a whole lot, but in a car that only weighs like 1100 kg, it's not half bad, man. It goes fast enough to certainly be fun. But the handling, I think, is the truly impressive part. Rear wheel drive, super lightweight. And man, it just goes through corners absolutely beautifully. Just like the Indy MX-5. Only with a far more exciting exhaust note. The Indy's 2-litre 4-cylinder, well, it makes, you know, an acceptable amount of power. It doesn't have that snarl like an Italian car. This, while not quite as powerful, is definitely more torquey, more usable in the mid-range, and it does stuff like that, which is just fun, you know? It makes a convertible like this worth having the top down, because then you can enjoy that snarly 4-cylinder racket from the back. But then the great thing with it is that, just like the MX-5, it is still a usable car. It's very comfortable. Suspension is firm enough where it handles really well, but isn't like bone shakingly uncomfortable. The interior is nice. It's got all the features you need. I can set my cruise control if I so desire. It's genuinely a nice car. I would say this probably isn't quite as fast as the ND, but it has quite a few other advantages. I like the red tack. I like the slightly more aggressive interior. I prefer the styling on the outside, and I think I prefer the character of this engine. The sound, the snarly, burbly noises from the back end. Listen to all those little pops and thuds and crackles. The gears are nice and short, so you can just be going through the gears purely for the heck of it, even right down to second. So well suited to roads like this. Oh, and I gotta say, it's pretty quick, man. She's got plenty of torque at the mid-range. Gets up and goes really nicely. I don't know that I would have a normal 124 Spider, just because it only makes like 103 kilowatt or something, which is miles less than certainly the competition in the MX-5 and the GT86. But to be honest, I think I probably would have this, because there's not really any areas where it's worse than the MX-5. I suppose it makes a little bit less power, but hey, I mean, you know, you rev it right out, it makes power. Makes power right to 6.5 grand, man. Like, that's not half bad. Doesn't rev quite as high as the MX-5, but then again, because it's turbocharged, it doesn't really need to. But all the minor, admittedly, complaints that I have with the MX-5, like the engine being a little bit bland and a bit gutless in the mid-range, this solves. It's got a much more exciting exhaust note, much more mid-range torque, so, you know, fourth gear, 3,000 RPM. If you put your foot down in the MX-5, nothing would happen but this. Full boost. And you're just riding a surge of torque. The handling's just as good. I think it looks more interesting on the outside, a little bit more aggressive. And overall, into the 55 corner, clip the apex, right to the outside. Into fourth, massive crack on the upshift. Man alive, this thing is good, man. So there we go. Thanks very much for watching. I will give you one last snarly 4-cylinder racket. Oh, listen to that. And I'll look forward to seeing you again next time.